we've got a couple things I want to go over, some stuff that has come out. Canada Post should be very careful, and I actually agree with this. Canada Post doesn't get their stuff together, they could be going bye-bye very soon. Amazon delivers right to our front door and not half a block away at a postal mailbox. Switching to receiving electronic bills was easy. We don't miss having to recycle junk mail flyers. Taxpayers might realize no one misses them. On a positive note, every day that Canada Post is on strike, Canadians save $2 million. If this is accurate information, every day, $2 million, and last year Canada Post lost nearly $750 million, $750 million. Holy, this is what we're dealing with. Canada Post goes on strike, and everybody just kind of sits there and goes, well, we have so many other options, it doesn't matter. Honestly, yeah, I don't think anybody's really missing Canada Post right now. The big news of today, and honestly, is it really gonna happen? Probably not. You want my honest opinion? I don't have any confidence in the fact that they will call a no confidence vote on Trudeau. Is the Trudeau government about to fall? There will be a confidence vote in the House of Commons tomorrow evening. This is what reports are claiming. Happening now, the BLOC leader just took Justin Trudeau on a private ride-along down Jabroni Boulevard.
This is what he's standing against. He's trying to convince Canadians that everything's broken while he forces his MPs to vote against a GST break that's going to help Canadians over the coming months. That's not leadership. That's pandering to the lowest common denominator.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has everyone unanimously against him. And his so-called Christmas present. Canadians don't want it, business owners don't want it, retirees don't want it, students don't want it, economists don't want it. Even those who are well off and kind-hearted, they don't want it. No one wants the Prime Minister's Christmas gift. When will the Prime Minister understand that one cannot buy votes? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are struggling. That's why we are offering a tax break to all Canadians for the next few months. Mr. Speaker, Canadians who are struggling are those who will not receive a rebate check. You know who is struggling, Mr. Speaker? The Liberals themselves. The Conservatives don't seem to support the proposal. The NDP neither. The Bloc Québécois neither. No one in this House seems to support the rebate check. If the Prime Minister is so sure of himself, why doesn't he make it a matter of confidence and have a confidence vote?
Oh, okay, so yes, that sounds very promising, doesn't it? What if I told you it's not the first time the Bloc has threatened this, and as a matter of fact, the first time they threatened it, they did not go through with it. As a matter of fact, they continued to vote for Trudeau when the time came months ago. When the non-confidence vote or no confidence vote in Trudeau happened, they voted against it. This is the second or third time the Bloc is now switched and has threatened Trudeau with this no confidence vote. Pierre's been pushing this for months and months and months. And now the Bloc and the NDP, they feel threatened or they haven't received whatever it is, their end of the bargain, their end of the deal. They didn't get what they wanted, and now they want to put up a fight. Now they want to make it about Canadians, even though they've made it about themselves for the past however many months. I don't personally believe a no confidence vote is going to come today. If it does, though, I will be celebrating. And if it passes, holy, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a party. Canadians have held out too long. And especially with stuff like this happening, Canada uncovers 10,000. Only 10,000. I guarantee you there's probably more. Fake student visas with 80% of fraud committed by Indians. This is just the statistics. The AF Post. These are just the facts, ladies and gentlemen. And they're coming out more and more as the Trudeau government continues to fail. One of these international students in Brampton was arrested for allegedly pretending to be an Uber driver and then SAing 3 different women at remote locations. So there you go. Hey, question period. Here we go.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition. The Prime Minister is weak, and he's lost control of our borders. He opened Roxham Road, and he kept it open a year after the Americans offered to close it. He invited at least 700 foreign students by implicitly promising that they would be able to stay here permanently and who will now have to leave. And he lost 500,000 people. What is his plan to reestablish order at the borders and prevent American tariffs? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As our colleague knows very well, the relationship with the United States is the most important relationship that we have with any other country when it comes to security and when it comes to the economy. We work very well with the Americans, and we have for many years now, for many decades. And he also knows very well that 18 months ago, we signed a new third-party agreement, which the United States have celebrated since then, and which are going to bring back to the attention of our colleague. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Since the Prime Minister enjoys invading provincial jurisdiction, he's lost control of his own jurisdiction. He is incompetent when it comes to federal jurisdiction, like borders. It's the most important federal jurisdiction. In fact, now the provincial premiers have lost confidence in this Prime Minister. The Premier of Quebec is sending Quebec's provincial police force to defend the borders. Alberta's Premier is doing the same. Ontario's Premier is saying exactly the same things. How can we trust this Prime Minister? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Our colleague is talking about trust and jurisdiction. I answered this question a couple of minutes ago. If there's something that he can control, Mr. Speaker, it's he could ask for his security clearance so that he could protect his own caucus. He's not able to protect himself and his own caucus, and that's an issue of trust, Mr. Speaker. The trust of parliaments and the trust of Canadians depends on the ability of the Leader of the Official Opposition to control his agenda and to ask for a security clearance.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This weak Prime Minister has lost control. He's lost control of immigration, lost control of our borders, and now we're facing massive threats to our economy. Right now, there are as many as 500,000 people here illegally. There are 700,000 students who came here with the implicit promise they'd be able to stay forever, and now they're being told they have to leave, with the temptation that they might head south for the much stronger economy than we have here, which would provoke a massive retaliatory tariff. So what's the plan to reverse all the damage the Prime Minister's done?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hundreds of thousands of people come to this country every year and then leave. They're called tourists. Hundreds of thousands of people come here as temporary residents and then they leave. Some become permanent residents. There is a plan to achieve that. They will migrate into permanent residence.
Only some, huh?
Here, and when they refuse to do so, they will be removed. But you can't make this up, Mr. Speaker. What the member opposite, the Leader of the Opposition, is doing with the member of Edmonton Millwoods is going around to these people, pandering to them, promising them to have visas and promising not to deport them. That is highly irresponsible and it's incompetent.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that member hallucinates almost as badly as his weak leader, who refuses to stand and answer for his own border failures. Let's look at his record. He opened Roxham Road. He kept it open for a year longer than the Americans required. He put out a tweet saying, "Welcome to Canada," inviting people to come here illegally. According to that minister's department, there are 500,000 people here illegally, all of whom could be tempted to go south of the border, provoking a massive retaliatory response. So once again, what's the plan to fix what he broke?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
Speaker, we'll tweet out the video of him pandering to people, entertaining false hope, promising visas to everyone, promising they won't get deported. That's highly incompetent. Worse than that, Mr. Speaker, is he's refusing to get his security clearance. That is irresponsible for any purported leader of this country, any responsible person in politics. He needs to grow a pair, get the briefing.
They are all stoned, aren't they? They're all just a bunch of druggies. Oh, Darth Fungus with the mute. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the first mute of question period. Question period has actually been delayed about 30 minutes because of the vote earlier.
There is a large flexibility that Speaker gives, of course, to the language that's used in here. But I think that might be beyond the border. I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister if he could just withdraw those words.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw those words. On a day like this, I would say he's all flannel and no axe.
What is going on?
The opposition.
Mr. Speaker, once again shows the erratic, out-of-control government we have over there. His Prime Minister is hiding from questions. His Minister is losing control of his words and his mind. This is a government that is falling to pieces. The Prime Minister has lost control of the border, lost control of immigration, lost control of our finances, and now lost control of his caucus, who are saying that they've been intimidated into voting in favor of his tiny tax trick. He's lost control, but he's holding on to power.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what the member is talking about. On this side of the House, we can have conversations, we can have debates, and we don't get shut down from speaking like the members opposite, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about today. We are moving forward with a GST cut for every single Canadian. And what have we heard from the Leader of the Opposition? He's opposed to tax cuts, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, he's all talk, no walk. He's not there for Canadians on this side of the House. We're going to support Canadians and let our members have debates and conversations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. For weeks now, the BLOC Québécois has been asking the Liberals to increase resources at the borders. Weeks that they've just come back with the condescension that they're so well known for, that they have a plan. But listen, yesterday the Prime Minister announced to his colleagues, the premiers, that he was going to do what the BLOC has been suggesting for a week now, increase resources at the border. You know, up to last night, there was no plan and there were no resources at the border. So why do the Liberals always have to wake up at the last possible minute? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our colleague knows very well that the relationship with the United States is the most important relationship that we have when it comes to security, economics, and the border. And that's why for many decades now we've worked well and actively with the Americans, and we've done that in recent years, particularly under Mr. Trump's administration. Mr. Trudeau, rather, the Prime Minister, had an excellent meeting yesterday with the premiers, and it's on the basis of ongoing collaboration that we will deal with the issues raised in that conversation. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Well, better late than never, the Liberals have finally realized they need to increase resources at the border, but they're still unable to tell us exactly when, how much, and how. And that's really serious because in just a couple of months, Donald Trump is going to impose tariffs on our entire economy. They only have 2 months left to fix the leaky border. And until last night, they continued to claim they didn't think there was a problem. Now that they've finally seen the light, can they please explain what the details of their plan are? The Honourable Minister of Global Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you know, and Canadians know, borders are very important, and it's in the interest of the Americans that they be protected. It's the interest of Canadians that they protected. And that's why we are working together on this question. I had a conversation with Premier Legault this morning, and I also spoke with Quebec's International Relations Minister. I've also had the opportunity to speak with a number of influential Republican and Democrat senators in the United States who are all allies so that we can work together to make sure that our two countries are protected. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-La Petite Patrie. Mr. Speaker, as we see every Christmas when things get going again, the Liberals woke up just the other day and said, hey, we're going to send out $250 checks. But the NDP noted that they forgot a lot of people, seniors, persons with disabilities, people who aren't able to work. The Liberals panicked, and so they pushed that measure back. But, you know, the real question here is, are they going to fix their measure so that they can help people who really need it? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, today is a great day, Mr. Speaker, because we are going to be voting with the support of the NDP for a tax holiday for all Canadians, including seniors. And we'd like to thank them because on the other side of the House, what we're seeing is a Grinch who's going to stay a Grinch and who doesn't want to vote for a tax holiday. So I'd like to thank the NDP because they have a heart like we do for all Canadians, but we're going to continue working with them to make sure that we support all Canadians across the country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Victoria.
But they're not supporting all Canadians. The Liberals are letting Canadians down. Almost everyone is cutting back. Life is expensive, and that is especially true for students, seniors, and people with disabilities. And the Liberals' plan? Excluding them from the $250 rebate. Even the Liberals' own MPs think this is absurd. And the Conservatives, they want to give tax breaks to billionaires like Galen Weston, but won't give a tax break to everyday Canadians. When the Conservatives show you who they are, believe them. So will the Liberals fix their botched rebate, yes or no?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Tourism and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. And, you know, we introduced for the first time a Canada disability benefit. You know, my brother has a disability. Ours is the first government that has put in place direct help for people with a physical disability. Mr. Speaker, the $250 check that we're going to send out, it's a check that we want to send out to workers. And coming from a party that has always claimed to stand up for workers, it seems a bit ironic that they're against it. That having been said, we think that 1 million seniors who work will have access to that check, and also persons with disabilities who are working, Mr. Speaker.
Then I have the Honourable Member from Thornhill.
After doubling the cost of housing, adding an inflationary carbon tax to everything that Canadians buy and giving us the highest levels of debt in the G7, the Prime Minister's plan is a temporary, tiny 2-month tax trick. But not even small businesses are fooled. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says that only 4% of small businesses expect a sales boost because of the latest last-ditch effort for the Prime Minister to save his own job. If he's so sure about his plan, why doesn't he call a carbon tax election and let Canadians decide? Right.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
With respect, the member ought to look at what the Retail Council of Canada has said on the matter, what Restaurants Canada has said on the matter as well, Mr. Speaker. Small business owners in my community across the country will benefit as a result of this tax cut. It's exactly what it is, a tax cut for workers a tax cut for families. What's also surprising, Mr. Speaker, and I just heard the name, they talked about Aaron O'Toole. That's exactly right. He put this initiative on the table in the summer of 21.
Oh god, Aaron O'Toole would have been such a bad PM. I'm so happy we didn't actually vote him, or he actually didn't get in. Like, I know that sounds bad that Trudeau won over him, but like, I voted for him, and I still thought he was a fucking terrible leader. Aaron O'Toole was just no charisma, no intelligence behind that man.
Tax cut. It's a distraction before a much, much bigger permanent tax hike. Even his own Liberal MPs are now opposing this. The member from Hamilton East Stony Creek says that he was threatened with, quote, consequences if he voted against it. Rather than threatening his own MPs, muzzling them like he's accused others of doing, we have a weakened Prime Minister terrified of facing Canadians. So if he's so sure about his own leadership, if he's so sure about his own plan, why won't he allow his own MPs to have a free vote on this one today?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Workers going for groceries, Mr. Speaker, who want to eat out, who want to buy gifts during Christmas, Mr. Speaker. That's who's on our mind, Mr. Speaker. Families who want to buy diapers for their kids, who want to buy kids' clothes. That young family who's excited about a new child coming into the family, Mr. Speaker. Car seats are expensive. There's a tax savings on that too, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition supported this initiative in 2021, but doesn't want to now because it's a Liberal initiative. Will the real Pierre Poilievre stand up in this House of Commons?
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Whoa! Another mute from Darth Fungus.
Sorry, I did not hear the Honourable Member, and I'm going to ask members to, if members were able to hold their voices unless recognized by the Speaker, it'd be easier for the Speaker to hear a statement. The Honourable Member apparently had mentioned the name of another Honourable Member. I'll ask the Honourable Member to just rise and use the name of...
It's an honest mistake, Mr. Speaker. I wish
The Honourable Member from Calgary Forest.
Whoa, it got really loud
Turning
there.
temporary 2-month tax tricks won't save this desperate Prime Minister. After doubling housing costs, doubling the national debt, doubling food bank usage, now he's blaming Canadians for not feeling the vibe of this pricey gimmick. Now he's even threatening his own Liberal MP from Hamilton East Stony Creek for not supporting this vote-buying scheme. Instead of threatening MPs to take cents off Skittles, call a carbon tax election now so common-sense Conservatives can axe the tax for good.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I know the Leader of the Opposition knows a thing or two about threatening his own MPs, because if they don't speak in three-word slogans, we never hear from them again. But, Mr. Speaker, what I can say is that on this side of the House, we are excited to deliver a tax cut for Canadians. And for the mom who has to buy diapers and groceries and a car seat, this is meaningful for her, Mr. Speaker. Who it's not meaningful for is the Leader of the Opposition, because when it comes to supporting everyday Canadians, he would rather support himself than give them a break over the holidays. That's so disappointing, and Canadians across this country are disappointed in him. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from Calgary Forest Lawn.
The only thing they're cutting is moms that have to cut down on the nutritious food that they can give to their kids and sending them into food bank lines. And after this temporary tax trick is done, they're going to jack up the carbon tax on April the 1st, making everything more expensive. And anyone who doesn't believe in this Prime Minister's radical plan, he threatens them with consequences. This inflationary vote-buying scheme will add another $6 billion to this Prime Minister's growing deficit. Instead of taking chump change off chocolates, call a carbon tax election now so we can axe the tax for good.
The Honourable Government House Leader in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the GST that we are proposing to remove is going to be removed on essential items like groceries, like children's clothing, like diapers and car seats. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if the honourable colleague has children, but if he did, he would know just how expensive those items are for Canadians. And for Canadians who have to buy...
Wow, Karina is finally realizing, and we watched this earlier, she said the exact same thing during the reporter scrums. She's realizing how expensive things are. Wow. Good job, Karina. It seems like you've maybe partially woken up a bit. Holy hell.
And the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's to please not take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker.
The honourable member for Bellechasse, Lévis. The Prime Minister is desperately trying to create a distraction, Mr. Speaker. He's trying to trick voters with a 2-month tax trick, but everyone can see through what he's doing. Earlier today, somebody came to my riding office to criticize what the Prime Minister is trying to do. This government is uniting Canadians against them, Mr. Speaker. Will they give Canadians election so that they can elect common sense Conservatives to give hope back to Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Economic Development. Once again, Mr. Speaker, today is a great day, Mr. Speaker. Canadians across the country, Quebecers, are going to have access to a tax holiday. I don't understand how my colleague from across the way doesn't want to support Canadians. Their hidden program, Mr. Speaker, is to make cuts to housing, among other things, Mr. Speaker. It's very clear that they don't want to support Quebecers. They don't want them to have a tax cut at the toughest time of the year, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Lévis. Listen, Conservatives will cut taxes and axe the GST on new homes. That'll mean savings up to $50,000 on the purchase of a new home, and it'll create 30,000 new housing starts, Mr. Speaker. That's a real idea to bring a long-term solution to problems created by this government. Canadians are smart. They can see what's going on. They're going to pay the price for this government. That's why we need elections now, Mr. Speaker.